Okay. So I got a view of the studio. I'm not sure. It looks like he's got headphones on.
I hear you.
Only Steve McKinney in studio for the final countdown. Steve, good morning, buddy.
Morning. Apparently, I'm the only one not mailing it in today. Jeez. Seth's, I think, following Taylor Swift on tour, and I don't know where Liucci's at.
Huh. So Seth isn't coming in today?
No. I don't know what he's doing.
Okay. Well, we'll have a good time with just us talking. Billy will be there when he gets there. Steve, let's start off with the unfortunate news we heard earlier in the week. Devastating, to be honest with you, although you have a great option at quarterback moving forward. But just your thoughts when you heard the news about Connor going down.
I mean, that was a big blow, no doubt. I mean, Connor was looking good. He had that game-changing ability that can really take a team to the next level. So you hate to see that because he was really starting to develop and come into his own. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we do have a good backup plan, probably one of the best in college football with Max Johnson. So he is different than Connor, but it's rare that you get a backup coming in with that level of experience and talent as well. So I mean, I'm excited to see him play. I think it'll be exciting to see how he progresses through the season as well. We've only seen him in such limited action, and it's been after an injury and only for a couple of games, and then he got injured himself. So seeing him put some games together and really start to develop as a quarterback and a leader of this team will be fun to watch.
All right, so I want your assessment of where the O-line is going, and I'll preface it with this. I know Connor got hurt, and obviously we all know he got hurt, and it was a play where people got through.
Yeah.
But I still felt outside of a few plays, they looked better. He had more protection than we had seen in past. It's still not good enough, though.
No, I mean, it does need to get better, but they don't look bad. They definitely are getting better. I still don't see them really moving guys off the ball as much as I'd like to. So, I mean, I'd like to see the physicality improve, and they're going to need to this week. I mean, Arkansas is always a challenge. Arkansas is a physical football team. They're coming in there ready to hit them in the mouth. So the offensive line is going to really need to set the tone early to be able to run the football against these guys. Give Max Johnson some time. Let him feel comfortable in the pocket. We can't have him getting antsy or getting happy feet in the pocket because we're getting pressure on him. So hopefully this is the week where the O-line really steps up. I mean, I think they looked good at times last week. I mean, for the most part, it was a solid performance. So I wasn't disappointed in it. I'll say that much.
Steve, one of the things that came up with Swope and McGee yesterday was some of these false starts that happened. I was trying to understand the why. I mean, I understand the why, but get more into the why at critical moments. And they were talking a little bit about the center quarterback exchange and however that, if you can give us your perspective of playing the position, being there, how difficult it can be, and how the quarterback can really affect everything there, and also the center, obviously, as well.
But, honestly, I mean, a lot of times when you see – at home, I'm not talking on the road where you can't hear at times, but at home, when you see false starts, a lot of time what you got is you have two things. You have one, you have a quarterback or, offensive coordinator in conjunction with the quarterback attempting to change the snap count to give your offensive line a chance to surprise the defense and get the defense kind of sitting on their heels a little bit. And then you might see a false start from there because they're used to it being on another count and they're so focused on what they have to do. Which is generally the problem. But you also have the situation where you have a defensive line that's kind of giving them trouble, and then they're thinking so hard about their block and what they have to do that they forget to focus on the snap count. So it can be either of those or a combination of both. And Liucci's got him a little Mickey D's, buddy.
Steven.
A little hash brown, a little coffee, and what'd you get, an Egg McMuffin? Or I like it. It's always a solid choice.
You got me on the Egg McMuffins with this whole, they do the fresh egg thing.
You can't go wrong with that, man.
But it is good, just a plain Egg McMuffin. I did have someone tell me that makes me an old person.
A lot of the kids.
I'm an old person because I go get McDonald's.
Nah.
I don't go eat there like for dinner. I don't have my birthday party there like you did, but I go to McDonald's.
Dude, McDonald's is coming up big time with the youth, man. We've been marketing towards them.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, dude, come on now with the Grimace thing,
the
Travis
hell did
Scott.
Grimace do?
You don't remember the Grimace shake?
Oh yeah, the purple shade.
Oh,
yeah,
come on.
A couple of the kids in the I can't say kids. A couple of them.
You're too old. You were too old to probably participate in that. But yeah, the kids love some of the stuff McDonald's is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good. Travis Scott. I had no idea, Nuno.
Does Billy have headphones on?
Yeah, I do, David.
Okay. Hey, buddy. How are you?
Well, I was doing better till I heard that voice of yours. Not your voice, but that voice.
That voice.
Hey, buddy.
My voice, yeah.
Hey, guy.
It's like a nervous fallback, I think. Nuno, we're back.
Hey, so I wanted to follow up with that with Steve on the line. So what can coaching do? Because you talk about discipline and that being a coaching issue, and that being, is there coaching that can fix that situation to where it's not just we're trying to get the defense, not ready for the snap count?
Well, I think you can. I mean, things like that. When you have a game where you have a couple false starts and it affects the series and costs you points at times, you definitely talk about it a lot that week. You focus on it and think about it. And, just that alone is usually enough to keep guys locked in, think about it a little more during the game.
I'll believe it when I see it. It's been a lot of different linemen over a long period of time, and I just don't understand it.
I don't understand it either.
Now,
I never had a lot of false starts in my career, but I knew guys that did, and I never really quite understood that.
I did notice with Wigman on a couple of those early, I felt like he was going with a hard count, which I love. But I don't know if they haven't gotten used to.
Well, that can definitely do it,
But I mean, guys, I feel like I watch enough football to know, like, I don't see it to the degree I see it at A&M. Things like confusion coming out of change of possessions or TV timeouts or early start games, and then also the pre-snap penalties. In fairness, I don't watch every game of every other team and every snap, even when I do. It just sure seems like A&M, it's a lot more prevalent with this, and it's disappointing so far to see that it's continued to be a thing. Is it the end of the world? No. Can it cost you dearly? Yeah. I mean, I think of Miami. You didn't just have a 4th and 1, first of all, so it might have cost you 4 there.
Mm-hmm.
There was a false start in the second quarter on that drive that pushed A&M from like a 2nd and 7 to a 2nd and 12. 2nd and 7 is not like you're not in a great spot, but you're certainly not in a bad one. No. 2nd and 12 is hard to overcome. And had they gotten that first down, not only does Bond probably make a much more makeable field goal, because they got 0 there, you get at least 3. Miami doesn't get the ball back. They don't go score for 7. It's at least a 10-point swing there, if not a 14. And again, they had to pick up a 2nd and 7, but who's to say they couldn't have? And then you cost yourself 4 on the other end.
Yeah,
it could have been. And I'm getting way out in front of the. I'm not really though. If it's if they gained 7 yards and didn't get that penalty, and they gained 1 yard and didn't get that penalty. That's 4 points. That's at least 3, and Miami doesn't score 7.
No, you're
2
right. 2
false starts may have kept you from 14 or 18 points swing in that game.
False starts are always a bad thing. Any kind of unforced penalty or a mental error is
hard enough.
It's
right?
hard enough. It drives coaches crazy. But when you do it in situations like that where it actually really does cost you, I mean, that's even more painful because you're right. I mean, those probably did cost us points, like real points, that other false starts, in the middle of the field or middle of a quarter or something may not have. So it was bad timing, but there's never really a good time to have a mental error.
Steve, how's Bryce Foster looked in your opinion?
I mean, I think he's been solid. I don't feel like he's playing to his potential. I think he's capable of more. He could be better. Physically, he's big enough, strong enough, athletic enough that he shouldn't just be solid. He should be dominant. Mm-hmm. And I could probably say that about a couple guys on the line, but it's just not happening yet. And honestly, man, sometimes offensive line play is not just about size and technique. It's about mentality. Mm-hmm. It's really about wanting to go out there and push guys off the line because the guys across from you are good too. And if they want it more than you do, it's going to show up on film. It's going to show up on the line of scrimmage. So they just have to, they got to get their minds right in that room and decide as a group, not just as a couple individuals, that dude, we're going to go out here and we're going to control the game. And we're going to run the football. We're going to cover guys up. We're going to push guys off the line. We're going to finish blocks. When they start playing with that mindset, I think we could see how good this offensive line is capable of being, because they got a lot of talent.
Gosh, I look at physically, right?
Yeah.
Besantis, Zune, Naboo, Dewberry, Bryce, obviously, and Layden. Like physically and athletically and just from a talent standpoint, I bet this is one of the more talented lines in the SEC.
I would agree individually.
Individually, yeah.
They're just not playing. They're not playing to their capability as a unit yet.
Yeah. I think I like what I see from the tackles. I think they're getting better and better. They're going to be tested a lot more this week.
We're not giving up a bunch of pressure on the outside. You're not seeing the ends just beating our tackles, which is a good sign.
So my question is, with this stuff on the inside, like say for example the play where Connor got hurt.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of plays like it where guys are just.
There's two things happen on that play, by the way.
Well, explain not just that play, but is that something you see in general? Because it just seems like there's a level of confusion there.
Yeah.
And a lack of synchronicity. And I wonder, is that the players just not doing their job, or are they overcomplicating what they're asking these guys to do and making them think too much? And I don't expect that you know the answer to that one.
I mean, just based on what I could see and based on the fact that it was a slide protection, they were sliding to the right, the center was coming to the right, which tells me that the right guard has a backer on the outside to the right. So the backer came late. He did a delayed blitz.
Yeah.
So he didn't come right on the snap, but just a second after the snap. So Layden basically felt he wasn't coming, immediately turned back, took his eyes off of him, which is the cardinal sin. You can help the guy, help the center, but you got to keep your eyes on your, you know. And I told him that. I was like, you got to keep your eyes outside. That was the first thing he did.
You told him that. Where'd you tell him?
I know Layden, so I texted him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I text him throughout the week sometimes.
It's very interesting. Like that.
Maybe I shouldn't acknowledge
Maybe you're
that.
giving him wrong advice. I don't know.
So I said, you got to keep your eyes outside. He knows that. It was just a mistake. It happens.
Yeah.
The guy didn't come right away. You learn from that. I guarantee he'll never do that again. The second thing is that he did see it late, and he was trying to come off the defensive line, gave him a little tug.
Yeah, I did.
Which was smart by the D lineman.
Yeah.
They're not going to call that. They're never going to see that. But as an offensive lineman, you can't put yourself in a position to even get held.
Yeah.
If you keep your right arm free and your left hand's on that guy, he never grabs that right shoulder, and you never get held. And if you do get held, you're not going to pull out of it to the right. You got to spin out like you're doing like a basketball player and throw your body into him, just get a piece of him. So I mean, these are that's like O-line 401. So they may not quite be there on that, but those are things you learn from, and you won't see it again, I don't believe, this season.
That'd be great. I mean,
it would be great, wouldn't it?
And they need that now, Nuno, with Max. They need protection needs to be.
But in all fairness, I mean, Robinson gets he's getting a bad rap just for plays like that, but I'm in a false start.
Yeah.
And the holding call was bull crap. Yeah. That was a bad call.
Yeah. Those two holding calls in a row, I thought, the holding and then the pick.
Yeah.
Were awful to me.
I agree. Both of them. But, outside of that, you take away the false start, you take away that play where he got held and didn't get a piece of that linebacker. He played a solid game.
Did he?
He did. Yeah. He played solid. He covered his guy up. His guys never came free into the backfield. He didn't give up pressures. He covered his guy up in the run. So outside of that, he played a good game.
Yeah.
He's solid. So everybody needs to chill out.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, the O-line is clearly better than it was last year, and they're clearly getting better. It's just like they're in a race right now against the clock. Like,
yeah.
Now you got to be good. These Arkansas dudes will get after it on the D-line. Sure. They did it to LSU last week. They're going to get after them tomorrow. But, hey, if the O-line comes out and plays well, I think the Aggies – and I think Max can have a nice game and A&M wins. You get another week, and you'd be that much better against Bama. And I think the second half of the season, this group could be really good. Now it's just kind of like, can you do enough to let these skill guys make things happen?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you look at how they ran the ball against Auburn.
Yeah,
and there were times where they were kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But they'd also had a couple nice runs, a couple big runs that helped set up drives and score points.
Yep.
I was pretty pleased with the way they were able to run the football against those guys, and I think that's only going to get better. And you look at guys like Le'Veon Moss, he's got some to him, man. He's got some juice. And Reuben Owens, dude, I mean, I think he's going to be phenomenal once he gets going. And even Amari, that was a huge run at the end of the game. He is tough. He may not be the speed burner. He doesn't have Achane-like speed or Achan, whatever we're calling him now. But he definitely knows how to see holes and run through tackles.
Yeah, he does. And Le'Veon Moss is a guy, and you know this, Steve. He's a dude that I've been talking about him since he got here, of like what that high-end potential is. And I keep having to remind people how badly Bama and LSU wanted this guy and why. You saw flashes of it last year. The last 2 weeks, you're really seeing it in games. But even more so, the chatter coming out of people I've talked to are out there at practice.
Oh, really?
So he's been doing it these last couple of weeks. You've seen a noticeable improvement in what he's doing day to day in practice. Every day they're out there. He keeps wowing people. People keep paying, he's catching everyone's eye.
That stuff doesn't show up on the games and not in practice.
It's practice first, then you start seeing it. And I think there are a lot of people that think there's a really big game coming from him. So
I could see that.
It'll be interesting to see what he does these next couple of weeks.
Hey, Steve, before we hit a break, not that I expect that you watch a lot of Arkansas football, but has anything jumped out about their offensive line? Typically, a Sam Pittman team can block pretty well. They had some struggles early on. They got some youngsters on that line. Yeah. Have you been able to see anything about them and maybe where A&M could take advantage of that?
Well, I mean, the fact that, they do have some experienced guys, but they're all, group of 5 transfer guys with the experience. So I don't see how they can keep our defensive line contained for 4 quarters. I mean, personally, I think we should be able to get after KJ Jefferson. Now, I would be very careful. I mean, the dude rushed for like 170 yards against us last year, so I don't think this is the kind of game where you just put your ears back and rush the quarterback. I think you got to corral him in the pocket and squeeze the pocket on this type of guy. But York, I mean, they had him playing spy against Auburn, and that dude is like a tackling machine, The quarterback's not
I'm more worried about, like you just said, I'm more worried about how the Aggie defensive line plays it than I am whether they win the battle at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
In other words, like you said, don't let Jefferson get outside. Don't let Rocket Sanders bounce it outside and go. And they've got other good running backs as well. I was really impressed last week with 7. But just maintain that integrity on the edge is what
I agree.
That would be my bigger concern than to say, will the A&M D-line win the battle against the Arkansas O-line? I think they will. I don't want to underestimate a Sam Pittman O-line. They do have a couple of veteran guys on the inside, but that's also A&M's strength. I think they'll be fine in that battle. It's just a question of you can't let them take advantage of weak edges, and that's my concern.
I mean, KJ, I'm with you, man. I mean, they have to be disciplined up front. The defensive line has to play extremely disciplined football because if they give KJ Jefferson the ability to break the pocket, buy time, that's when he's dangerous, either running the ball or hitting guys downfield. You got to keep him in the pocket. You got to squeeze it. If he's going to run, you got to make him run between the ends.
Yeah.
Give your linebacker a chance to make a play.
Hey, so we were talking about penalties earlier, and I wanted to kind of re-bring it back up for a quick moment because Arkansas gets a lot of penalties, by the way. But here was an interesting stat I found earlier in the week. Over the last 5 years, SEC teams who have been penalized the most per game, number 1 on the list was Alabama, believe it or not, at 6.81. A&M was in the middle of the pack, 6.4. Number 1, or 14, depending on how you look at it, was obviously Georgia, 5.2 per game. But I just wanted to illustrate that because we know it's a problem. And I think a lot of A&M's penalties are at inopportune times. But Alabama, who we've known to be one of the dominant programs out there, also been getting penalized quite a bit.
I think you guys have turned this into a massive talking point this week, UNOB, and it's just going to manifest itself. So I'll blame you ahead of time. But jokes aside, dude, what you're getting at is something. Alabama and Georgia have margin for error. Texas A&M and Arkansas and most of the teams in the league do not have the talent. Like, A&M's got more talent than most of the teams they're going to play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making excuses. But Bama and Georgia are still like the guys on the field, 1 to 22. There is a different level, and credit Jimbo for putting a roster together that has certainly closed that gap significantly. But they still, as a football team, whether it's talent, whether it's whatever, they don't have that margin for error, and neither does Arkansas. I'm going to tell you this. I watched Arkansas BYU. Arkansas killed themselves with penalties. And if I'm an Arkansas fan or if I'm Pittman or in that building, a player, a coach, I would absolutely be saying we win that football game if it were not for penalties. So teams outside of the best of the best of the best, they don't have that margin for error. And I think that's what we're getting at. It's not like there's 8 million of them. It's just it's hard enough to score touchdowns in the red zone. And when your defense is giving up a lot of points like they were at Miami, and like they're going to have a hard time with guys like Jefferson and Rattler and Dart and, Heupel's offense in Tennessee, Jaden Daniels and Neighbors in LSU. You see that all coming, and you go, they better get better in the red zone and score touchdowns because and the way to do that is to not set yourself behind the chains. Make them look, if you're going to get behind the chains, make them beat a block, make a tackle for loss, sack the quarterback, something. Don't do it for them, and that's kind of all I'm talking about.
No, I mean, I think you hit it nail right on the head. I mean, that's bottom line is that you're right. We don't have that margin for error. Now, I will say our offense is much improved.
Yeah.
Last year, we for sure didn't have that margin of error.
True.
So, I mean, this year we do have a little more margin error than we've had in years past. But now that you've lost your starting quarterback, we don't know for sure how much margin error we really have yet. So we have to kind of see what does our passing game look like in conjunction with our running game moving forward, because we're gonna have to be good at both.
Yeah.
I think with Weigman, our air attack was so scary to other defenses that they really game planned for that. Will we have that same type of respect, with Max Johnson? I hope so. I think he throws a really good deep ball, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Hey, how does Rocket Sanders probably playing in this game make a difference? I mean, obviously we know how good KJ is, and Rocket's one of the better running backs in the entire conference in America, to be honest. How does that kind of affect the way A&M
how healthy is he?
attacks him?
Is he 100% healthy? Is he 95% healthy?
Yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff matters a little bit, but I mean, in my mind, at the end of the day, everybody's got a good running back. Everybody's got a guy that can run the football, catch the ball out of the backfield. How much more special is he than, the guys on our roster? That's my question.
I think he's pretty damn good, but I sat here and listened to the scared committee yesterday. Start calling him Cape Fear, the fan show.
Fear.
They get on here. You'd think they were facing Robert De Niro in the swamps of North Carolina or something, the Outer Banks. But
like he's some unstoppable force or something.
Yeah, like shirtless, just about pissed his pants talking about it.
Rocket Sanders. How many did Rocket Sanders have on us last year?
Why don't you look it up, Nuno? You're up there with
I don't remember him killing us last year.
He's good. You'd rather play him without him, but. Their leading back has 190 yards on 31 carries. There's nothing wrong with that. That's real solid. And then the guy that impressed me last week was Dubignon. I don't know how you pronounce Dubignon, I think is his name.
So what was Sanders
He had
out
15 for 78 against LSU, and I thought ran really
sad.
hard.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with a banged-up Sanders. I do think he's practiced for 2 weeks now.
Okay.
So I bet he's
be good to
pretty
go.
healthy.
Yeah.
And he's certainly healthy enough.
Well, what did he have? Was it a hamstring, an ankle? I mean,
He
what
had a
was
knee injury is what
knee.
they're calling it,
Suffered
a
in the
knee
first
injury.
game.
And by the way, last year against Texas A&M, he had 68 yards rushing on 17 attempts. KJ Jefferson, though, had 105.
Yep.
Oh, that's a problem.
1,443 yards last year for Sanders. He's really damn good. He's an NFL back.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, they did hold him. They held him in check last year. KJ had a lot of yards rushing, but KJ led his team, guys. Like, listen, that guy scares the hell out of you because he can break, contain, and blip right over your head. He's coming off a great game against LSU where he kind of put the team on his back.
Yep.
They scored 20 points against the Aggies last year with that 105 rushing yards.
Yeah.
They scored 20.
With a fumble on the goal line, too.
Yeah, and it was his fault on the fumble. Now, they could have scored 27, but he also was at fault for that play.
Agreed.
He throws interceptions. You've got to make him have one of his off days. I think you can survive rushing yards. What you can't survive are these massive over-the-top, over-the-head of the defense passes.
Yeah.
And if you make him beat you with accurate passes underneath, I think that's where you have an advantage. And he can do it. So don't be surprised if he throws a couple of dimes. He can do that, but over the course of a game, that is not what he does. That's not what separates him from others in the SEC. And there are a lot of guys that are better passers than him in this league. But when he gets out and he looks, it's kind of like what Johnny could do.
Yeah, magic happens. Well, let me ask you this though: if you took the pig off the side of their helmet, and you just looked at their roster and you looked at A&M's roster and you said, we're going to go play this team at a neutral site, you would say we should beat them by 2 touchdowns. And when you put the Arkansas in front of it.
Thinks you're going to beat them by 1.
Well,
touchdown.
I think we should beat them by 2. I think we're 2 touchdowns better than them, even with Max Johnson. And I know we probably won't beat them by 2 touchdowns, but I think we should be better than 2 touchdowns against them. But we know how they're going to play us. We know they're going to get up for it. Our roster's way better than theirs.
Yeah, but just watching, yes, talent-wise of what's on the field, I think, yes, you should. Matchup-wise, though, it's like, where is A&M questionable? Well, it's at corner and in the secondary. Other than this Saturday against an inept Auburn team, they haven't gotten a good pass rush.
So where's their strength to us?
To me, that's it. Like,
you think they're better at receiver? Their receivers are better than our DBs.
I think. Yeah, I don't think.
You give them the edge.
I think. I don't know that they're great. They're not like they have been, but their passing game against our defense, if the Aggies are unable to generate pressure, Jefferson's ability to extend a play against that secondary, then those Arkansas receivers have a huge advantage. So I don't just love the matchup. And then if I'm talking about Arkansas's D-line, David, I think they're pretty damn salty up front. And the 2 weaknesses that we saw against Miami that both looked a lot better against Auburn. But it's Auburn, were the secondary and the offensive line. Now, they're both going to be tested in a way we haven't seen them tested since Miami. Yeah. I still look at Miami and I say A&M should go win that game by a score. Oh, yeah. I don't know about 2 touchdowns. I don't know how. LSU beat Arkansas at home on the final play. Oh, I know. I don't think it's a 2, but I agree. I think A&M should win this football game.
Arkansas just got a different mindset, Well, maybe against us, against LSU, like they always play us close. They'll lay eggs against other teams, but against us and LSU, it's coming down to the last series, last quarter.
If I'm Jimbo Fisher, and I know he likes to do the even keel thing, but I'd really look at the last couple of years against Arkansas. And I would say, I think Jimbo's first year, A&M raced out to a big. They did.
Was that the one at home?
No, that was Sumlin's first year. Jimbo's first year, they raced. No,
we played them. Oh, that was it COVID? We played them at home.
Oh yeah, and A&M smoked them then too. So Jimbo in 18 and 20, I think A&M raced out. I think maybe it was 10 or 13-0 the first year. I think Corbin had that kickoff return. I remember Rashad Paul making a big play down the sideline. Maybe it was Cam Buckley, maybe it was Rashad Paul, but somebody made a big play. A&M jumped on their ass that year, and then obviously, maybe in 2020 they may have been down 7-0 and then scored the next. I think they were up 42-17, 6 drives into the game. Yeah, that was a smoke job.
Yeah, it was. That was fun.
But
I like not having to stress about the Arkansas game.
I know it's rare, but the last 2 years, Arkansas has gotten all over A&M early. Yeah. It was 14-0 last year. They hit the deep pass play. There was a screen pass that went for big yards. And then a couple years ago, it was 17-0, 3 possessions in. And that was probably –
and we knew we were in trouble then.
Probably the worst I've ever seen a Mike Elko defense, with the exception of at LSU. But that was That was one of the best offenses of all time. But that Arkansas game with KJ, it was 17-zip, 3 drives in, and A&M looked inept. Now they settled down.
Yeah, they did. I thought we were about to get boat raced on that game.
But if I'm Jimbo, I think this week, what can you do? I appreciate the levelness of it, but I would be really preaching to these guys, match their freaking intensity early and exceed it.
Yeah.
Like my words would be, F these dudes, go out there and get after their ass, because that's what they're going to try to do to you. And by the way, guys, they have done that to you the last 2 years. They've punked y'all early in games. And so, to me, that might be the single biggest key in this one is for A&M.
How do you start?
To get off to a good start.
That I had Logan, who works the front desk, and the both Charge Apparel guys tell me, that's the one for you, Nuno. Don't go bigger. So just so you're aware, that conversation did take place in the lobby of TexAgs.
He's talking about his shirt choice and that they're the ones that told him it's a perfect fit.
Oh,
apparently.
Perfect fit. Hey, you know what, Steve? Every shirt you wear, no matter what size it is, the guns look popping. So, some of us have to try a little bit harder than you.
Those sleeves, you pulled them down earlier and you've pushed them back up, and you deny it. You deny it, but you do that. Like, watch, if you pull them down,
just don't let them pass mid bicep at least. That's the highest you can go.
Steve, the reality is he'll never admit it, but he thinks that's a cool look.
He'll never admit it.
He'll never acknowledge.
I feel like he would admit that. Honestly.
No, he wouldn't. I know.
You know what? I'm sorry that I make this shirt look good, Billy.
You do make it look good, but you'd make it look good if the sleeves were 2 inches lower too.
I pull it down and it goes up. Sorry that I'm tall.
Some shoulder, those big boulders you have on your shoulders, bro.
Boulder shoulders.
Welcome back to The View here on TexAgs Radio. All right, guys, let's get into, what is it? Time for the Freak of the Week.
It's the Freak of the Week.
Thank you. The delay with Zoom doesn't, work as well.
It's the Freak of the Week.
So, Steve, why don't you start us off with the Freak of the Week?
You would. Well, I kind of want to, can I say Max Johnson?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's who we need to be the Freak of the Week, right? He doesn't have to go out there and throw for 320 yards, but we just need him to put together, about a 65% completion percentage, hit at least one deep ball, no turnovers, manage the offense well. He doesn't have to win the game for us. He just can't lose it. He's got to make enough plays.
There's part of me that wants to go with Le'Veon Moss so bad on this one. There's just part of me that feels like this is a potential breakout game for him. But I'm just not going to quite go there because I just have to see the O-line really get it done in the running game for a week before I start picking Freak of the Week for an O-line. Yeah. For someone in the running game. But I do think these last 2 weeks you're starting to really see it. But I'm going to go with Evan Stewart. I think one of these Aggie receivers is going to have a breakout game, catch a couple of deep balls, and I'm going to go with number one. He's going back home to the Dallas area. He had a touch.
Is he from Dallas?
Yeah, Frisco. He had a touchdown in this game a year ago.
I know that.
I think it was his first college touchdown. I could see a 2 TD afternoon and a big game.
I tell you what, that touchdown he caught against Auburn, man, that was something sweet right there. That was a great throw too.
Catch. Yeah, people talk about the throw because it was perfect.
That was a
beautiful
good catch.
But it was the catch that I thought was
over your
better.
Shoulder.
Knowing
it's not
you
easy.
See the hit coming.
Yeah.
It's not even like you didn't see. He could see that hit coming as he. Yeah, that was.
Oh, people drop that throw all the time. That was a good catch.
Yep.
All right, now it's time for the Sleeper of the Week, presented by the Sleep Station. Go see Jared McLeod and ask about the Tempur-Pedic mattress or the Purple mattress in the Specs parking lot at Texas and Harvey and in front of the Lowe's at William D. Fitch and Highway 6. The website, thesleepstation.com. Steve, it is you once again, buddy.
We don't have there's not a lot of guys that I can think of that would be sleepers at this point. But I'm going to say Terrion York. He's not even a sleeper at this point.
Yeah,
right?
He's the SEC freshman defender of the week.
He's turned out to be a lot better than I think anyone thought when they first recruited and signed him. Yeah. But I think we've seen enough of him these last few weeks that people know who he is. They know what he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a huge game because I think they are going to mush rush KJ Jefferson. I think they're going to try to keep him in the pocket. And I think he's still going to try to break out and try to run the football. And I think York is going to be the one they're going to task to spy on him, especially in those third down situations. And him making plays when that does happen is going to be critical because nothing destroys a defense more than when you have a good rush, you protect downfield, and then your quarterback gets you for a 3rd and 7 and runs and picks it up. Those are backbreakers. So him tackling a big dude, by the way, that could probably fall for 7 yards is going to be critical, I think.
I think for my sleeper of the week, I'm going to go Shamar Stewart. Shamar Turner's been balling. And by the way, for those of you guys that like to keep lists and complain when we say somebody's going to have a good year and they don't, like, file that one in your ledger. Use that later. Try to remember that we've been talking about Shamar Turner while everyone was talking about the class of 22 D linemen who have been terrific. I need to see McKinley Jackson and Walter Nolan be absolute beasts this weekend. I think they will.
Yeah.
For sleeper, I'm gonna go with Shamar Stewart, and what I'm gonna say is I think we're gonna see a 2-sack afternoon for him for number 4 out there. So
I would love to see him get going.
He's gotten to the quarterback a couple times, of half sacks, I think, or a sack against Miami, and then a half here or there. He and Overton, they've played well. Shamar Turner has been the guy that's really stood out at that spot. But those other 2 guys, they've been quiet in terms of the big play department. And I think maybe even both of them. I might go with those 2 and say they combine for a couple sacks on Saturday, a couple of big plays. Drive killers.
That's what we like.
Charge apparel time for a little pick six action. And I'm going to go through these standings just so you're aware. Last week,
moved up
most of us had a good week. Yeah, Caroline Fenton dominated 5-1.
Fenton, by the way, Nuno.
Yep.
You know Fenton's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Cool. She'd probably kill me.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the point. I actually believe she would.
I don't understand why you're making it, though. Like, do you feel good? Like, there are people who are better and stronger than me, Billy, in this world. Yes.
No, but according to you on the show, there's not. That's the problem. But look, I'm just reminding you that no matter
who work at TexAgs, you're right. I would destroy Olin.
I don't know, man. Uncle Rico. He might put a Rico statue on your ass. Uncle Rico. Steve, I got to show you his hair from yesterday. It was incredible. I'm just saying, for all your work of throwing around Ken Patera down there in downtown Bryan, don't let Fenton get her hands on you because she might break tear a ligament or break a small bone in your wrist or something.
I am not surprised. Everybody's better than me except the people who work.
Is that your goal? Like, do you want to walk around and it's like, hey, it's Office Badass David Nuno?
I'm number one.
I already was that beforehand, but now I'm trying to be able to extend that to
broadcasting.
Okay, congratulations. You can take Cessna. Travis Brown, great work. Hey, listen, let's go get to it, but remind me when we have more time next week to tell a story about Steve dragging me to some karate class as he was preparing to go to the NFL. He's like woke up one day and said, I heard, if you take karate, it'll help you play offensive line better. I'll tell that
a
story.
Free class.
It was like literally one time, but I'll tell you about it later.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, let's go with the first game, number 22. By the way, those of you listening on The Zone, when this is over, make sure you keep it with Louie, but if you want to also keep it with us, we'll be on YouTube going and TexAgs.com until we finish the picks. Number 22, Florida at Kentucky, 4-0, 11 a.m. Kroger Field, ESPN broadcast. Kentucky favored by 2.5. Gentlemen.
Give me Florida. I think Florida will win that game.
Give me Kentucky at home by a field goal. They cover.
I have Kentucky winning as well.
If they're 5-0, beating Florida, that'd be pretty good.
They will still beat nobody, in my opinion. But
yeah.
Still Florida. It's still Florida.
Didn't Florida just beat somebody pretty good at home?
They beat Tennessee. I remember a few years ago where Kentucky had never beaten Florida, and they finally broke the streak. Yeah. That wasn't that long ago. Yoda?
The next one. I'm kind of surprised by this line, to be honest, after watching the offensive output from Auburn. But you got number 1 Georgia, 4-0 at Auburn,
Georgia.
3-1. Georgia favored by 14.5.
Georgia by 40.5.
Yeah, let me have Georgia.
I'm going to bet that game this weekend. I don't never bet. I bet, but I wait for games like this.
It's going to be a good atmosphere, though, man.
It will. Georgia's defense.
Weird
Auburn's
things happen in
offense.
Auburn, dude. That's all I'm saying.
Georgia's defense, Auburn's offense. Do you see Auburn scoring more than
No.
twice in that football game?
No chance.
Okay. So even if they score 14, do you think they hold Auburn or Georgia to under 28? Maybe 27-14. I don't know. But I don't think Auburn scores more than 10, if I'm being honest.
Probably not.
I got Georgia covering that easily.
Same. Georgia.
All right. Next one is number 24, Kansas. They're 4-0 at Texas. Number 3, 4-0, 2:30 Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium. ABC broadcast. Texas favored by 16.5.
I got to take Texas.
I'm torn on that one because this is the kind of game where Texas will just throttle them, and we'll hear from them. What an amazing win they just had over the Kansas Jayhawks at home.
Top 25 ranked.
Top
Kansas.
25 Kansas, and this is what happens in the Big 12.
Who will be a 6-6 team at the end of the year?
Year in and year out, they do this. I do like Kansas's quarterback. I really like their head coach, but Texas has literally 3x the talent that Kansas does.
Yep.
So you're bringing a team in there that is really good by their standards, and again, I think it's a pretty good football team, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
But Texas just has such a talent advantage. You talk about margin for error and who has it and who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Texas has it in every game they're going to play now. And give them credit for beating Bama because they didn't really have it there other than at QB. But they've got it in every game they're going to play. And they've got it by a wide margin this week. I think Texas, I think it's competitive enough. Texas pulls away. We talk about what a sensational, everybody around the country talks about what a sensational team they are. They beat Kansas at home. I do think they cover though, but
Let me jump in here.
I don't think they
Bye
can.
to our friends on the Zone. Thanks so much for watching or listening, I should say. We'll continue on YouTube and TexAgs.com. Let's go to the next game. Number 13, LSU, 3-1, 1-0 in the SEC versus Ole Miss, 3-1. They lost their SEC game, 5 o'clock, Vaught Hemingway Stadium. LSU favored by 2.5. Steve?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with LSU. Cover.
I'm with you. I'm not buying Lane Kiffin. I'm not buying Ole Miss. LSU beat a better team, I think, last weekend in Arkansas. I like the Tigers to go in there and cover. And another big day for Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. And by the way, I think a big day for the LSU ground game as well.
We've got number 11, Notre Dame. They're 4-1 at number 17, Duke, 4-0, also 1-0 in the SEC. 6:30 Brooks Field at Wallace Wade Stadium. ABC broadcast. Notre Dame favored by 5.5.
Wow, could you imagine Mike Elko beating Clemson and Notre Dame in year 2 in the first half of a season?
I couldn't imagine it.
Both in front of the home.
That's why I'm
crowd.
picking Notre Dame to cover that, because that would just be too much to believe.
That is a physical football game Notre Dame just played. Mentally exhausting.
No doubt.
Hangover. You're going to give
Now
me
you gotta go on the road.
You're going to give me 5.5 points. I'm taking Duke. I think Notre Dame wins that, but by a field goal.
Okay.
All right, and the last one, Texas A&M 3-1, 1-0 in the SEC versus Arkansas 2-2, 0-1 in the SEC. 11 a.m. AT&T Stadium in Dallas. SEC Network. A&M is favored by 6.5. Gentlemen,
Jerry's World.
Cherish World.
Jar.
Oh man.
Let's just make fun of Nuno today. Let's go. Let's keep going.
We love it. It's all in love.
It is. If we didn't make fun of you, it would show we didn't love you.
Yeah, you'd be like, "What's wrong? What are they doing?"
Oh my gosh, dude. I want to pick A&M, but it's hard to see us covering this. Got a new quarterback.
Had them winning by 14 5 minutes ago.
I think we should. No, I said we should win by 14. Talent-wise, we should, but we.
I don't know how many
the games
teams
are always
gonna beat
close.
Arkansas by 14
That's-
this year.
No, you're right. You're right. That's why I think we'll probably beat them by like 3 or 4.
If you're going
Or
to give
2.
me that many points, if you're going to give me that many points in a rivalry like this, I'm going to take the underdog every time.
Yeah.
I will take Arkansas. I think Texas A&M wins this thing 31-27 or 34-31, much like LSU or Arkansas's last two games. I think it's a high-scoring game. A&M makes just enough plays on offense and get just enough stops on defense to win it. But I have Arkansas covering. And if I'm a betting man, I'm doing a parlay this week, and I'm taking Georgia to cover as a heavy favorite, and I'm taking Arkansas to cover. I do think A&M wins the game, but I'm winning that parlay on Saturday without question.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's difficult to see us going in there and winning by more than 6.5. So I'll take Arkansas to cover.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. It was fun.
All right, big one. This is a big one this weekend, Nuno. It
one,
really
man.
is.
Get hyped, Nuno.
I'm hyped.
Go do some
Cut my
curls.
off next. Oh, there's no doubt about that. That's going to happen tonight. All right, guys. Thank you.